let me begin by saying how pleased I am to be here in Los Angeles. I always love to be at Dodger Stadium, but it's particularly important to be here on Jackie Robinson Day, one of the most important days in the baseball calendar. In addition to just the history surrounding Jackie's legacy, I had the additional pleasure of having Rachel Robinson here with us tonight. Rachel is absolutely revered in the game, and her legacy of achievement with respect to diversity issues and inclusion rivals that of her famous husband. We had a wonderful ceremony earlier today, around baseball and civil rights roundtable. It was a great group that participated in the roundtable. We honored the great Irvin Magic Johnson. He's here with us this afternoon for his achievements in the area of diversity, in the area of civil rights, for the great job he's done building wonderful businesses in the inner city. We also honored Doris Huerta for her work here in the front row. I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. For her work on so many great causes related to inclusion, diversity, economic equality, the labor movement, activity near and dear to my heart from the beginnings of my career. And then last but certainly not least, on the 40th anniversary of Frank Robinson becoming the first African American, we honored our own Frank Robinson. Frank has been a great friend to me for many years. We worked together in the commissioner's office. He did tremendous work on our Urban Youth Academy project and on the civil rights game that has become an important event in the baseball calendar. I think it is a real improvement for us to combine the civil rights game to our annual Jackie Robinson Day. Jackie is the most historic figure that ever played the game, and it's fitting that we honor his legacy by also having the civil rights game on the same day. I want to be clear about this. My friend Frank Robinson continues to be a special assistant to me and the honorary American League president. I had him out in spring training. I actually surprised him once in spring training. I didn't think he didn't know I was going to be in the same ballpark as he was, but he was out there doing his job, trying to figure out if we were doing a great job on pace of game. So Frank, Magic, Dolores, congratulations to y'all, and we really appreciate your participation in our event. Don.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, with that little introduction, I'm going to turn it over to Rachel Robinson.
Oh, really? Okay. Coming back to Dodger Stadium and to the team and to all the people who root for the team, it's like coming home for me. And it's both exciting and it's also sometimes sad because you miss the people who are not here anymore. But this is an exciting event. I'm very proud of all that is happening and proud of all of the ideas that are being generated for young people to be more active in the game, for more diversity, for all the good things that are coming out because people really care that we have a quality product here and that we can all buy into and all feel a part of. I feel very, even though I'm 92, I'm always bragging. But I want to stay an active part of the whole of baseball, and feel proud of it, and feel proud of the accommodation and and the fact that I'm a part of something that's real and in America and that's moving forward, not moving backward, and where we're coming together and not fighting. So it's a great pleasure to come home. I wish I'd put my Dodgers shirt on.
Well, it's a true blessing for me to sit here with Rachel and understand what her husband has meant to changing society, changing the world, changing baseball. I think that he's still here, his presence, his legacy, and I'm just so happy to know that he played for the Brooklyn Dodgers, and then my partner and friend, Mark Walter, gave me an opportunity to be an owner of the Dodgers. It's historical. It means a lot. It was what Jackie was fighting for while he was on that field. He opened the door for me to be able to be a Dodger owner today. I think if he was here, he'd be smiling, he'd be happy. I think Frank Robinson being the first manager and player manager, and his historical career, but also him working in the front office of the Major League has opened the door for others to come, not just men of color to be managers, and we need more, but also on the executive team and working in the commissioner's office. That's what Jackie wanted to see happen. More and more men of color having an opportunity to not just play on the field, but also have opportunities throughout baseball. And so things are happening. Rob is such an incredible visionary and a great commissioner. What he's going to do in the next years is going to be so exciting, bringing new fans in, bringing young fans in. We've seen the increase, the game has sped up a little bit, and I think fans like that, by 8-9 minutes, whatever it is, it's great. But what we're trying to do here through Mark's leadership is we bus in so many inner city kids who wouldn't have an opportunity to come to Dodger Stadium and see a Dodger game. They just couldn't afford it. But the first thing that Mark and I talked about with Stan and the other owners is that we want to bring kids in there. This great stadium is big enough that we can bring kids in for free. We've been doing that. They've been having a great time. And it's because of Mark's leadership and his big heart of giving back and being a fabric of this community. Yes, we want a great team on the field, and Peter and Tommy started that great tradition, Peter O'Malley and Tommy Lasorda and all the great players, but now we want to carry that on. And we want to expand, and we want to be doing so much into the community of Los Angeles because the community is so diverse. And so we want to make sure that we speak to all our fans, and that's what we've been able to do. If you look at our executive team, if you look at the people who work for the Dodgers, they look like the city of Los Angeles. And again, that's because of Mark's leadership. And I'm happy to be a partner of his and a friend. And so without saying any more, Stan has a big announcement, which is really great. Mark Walter approved this, and so we know he won't say anything, but this is going to be great.
Thank you, Irvin. I couldn't be prouder to be here today with everyone on this dais, but particularly with Rachel. It's always great to see her, and a real treat for us. And to be able to host the Civil Rights game. When Frank first approached me a year ago about doing the game, I didn't know that this game had never been played in Los Angeles, had never been played in the home of Jackie Robinson. So it was a real thrill and an honor for us to host the game. In connection with that, as all of you know, we've spent the last 3 years since we've been here doing our best to modernize the stadium, to beautify the stadium, to make it the best 21st century experience in a classic vintage stadium. Today, I am pleased that now that work has been done, it's time for us to do the other things that can really make the place even more special. So we are announcing today the beginning of our statues program. And sometime later this year, we will be announcing that our first statue will be a statue of Jackie Robinson. We don't have any details for you today, not design, not timing, not location. We're going to be doing that, though, with Rachel and with Sharon and the family, but it will be done in a respectful way that pays tribute to the Jackie Robinson that all of us here with the Dodgers think about every day. So we couldn't be prouder of that. And Rachel, it's great that you could be here for the announcement.
Thank you.
Also, too, we want to make sure that we say hello to some of our Hall of Famers, one who played with Jackie. Welcome, Don. A wave, you don't have to stand up. Welcome. And we want to make sure the other Hall of Famers sitting here, Tommy Lasorda, the great manager who's done so many great things. And then last but not least, we don't want to forget about the great work that Rachel and Sharon has been able to do with the Jackie Robinson Foundation. I tell you, they run one of the best foundations in all of America. 200 kids on scholarship, 98% of them graduate. So when you're thinking about, or your friends are thinking about supporting a foundation that is doing great work, please tell your friends to write the check to the Jackie Robinson Foundation. So I think, is it a question? What are we doing next?
Anyone have any questions? Rachel, I'd like to ask you, this is, Rob was mentioning, this is one of the great stories, not just in sports, but in America, of your husband and you. It was a partnership. Obviously, we've learned that reading the stories. What does it mean to you to have been part of this great saga, American saga, of bringing equality to baseball?
I think basically I feel I was very blessed that somehow I had opportunities and challenges and new ways of doing things. And so I feel that I've been blessed, and we owe other people a lot of gratitude, a lot of help, and whatever we can do for others would help me, make me feel good about being a part of this social movement.
Whoever was a part of the genesis of the statues program and the Jackie statue, could you explain how that idea sort of came together?
Well, it's an obvious idea that's been rumbling around. You know, since we got here, we didn't know the exact time and place for it, but it seemed inevitable that there would be a Jackie Robinson statue at the right time. We think now is the right time. This is the perfect day to announce it. I don't have any other details for you except that we couldn't be more excited about being the first baseball stadium to honor Jackie in this way.
Rachel, how does that make you feel?
What?
How does that make you feel that there will be a Jackie statue here at Dodger Stadium?
Oh, how would I feel? I mean, I've been waiting, you know, like 20 years, about 20 years for this.
I think he got his answer.
It's the fulfillment of a dream to have a statue of Jackie Robinson in Brooklyn Stadium.
Bill? Stan, is this a one-time only thing, or do you envision this being the first event?
I would not be surprised if there are more to come. Obviously, there are many, many, many Dodger greats. But for today, all I can tell you is the first statue we're going to do is Jackie. And after that, I'm sure we'll have more news at a later date.
Stan, have you chosen a location?
No, we don't have any details to discuss today, but we have lots of time. And as I said, we want to work with the Robinson family to make sure that it's the best it can be. And location, obviously, will be a big part of that.
This question is for Mr. Manfred. USA Today recently gave out a study that among the 868 players on opening day rosters and disabled lists, only 7.8% are African American. Do you think baseball is doing enough to reach out to the African American community?
Well, we have a whole portfolio of programs designed to improve African American participation at the major league level. We have the Reviving Baseball in the Inner Cities program, RBI, program that is a grassroots inner city-based program to encourage participation. We have a joint effort with the Major League Baseball Players Association called the Baseball Tomorrow Fund that focuses on building facilities in areas where they're not, inner city areas where they're not generally available, again, with the goal of increasing participation. And then, of course, we have the Urban Youth Academies that I mentioned earlier that Frank was responsible for. It's interesting. There are some very positive numbers out there in addition to the programs. Keith Law's 100 top prospects list is 14% African American, obviously double the number that we have at the major league level right now. Last 2 years in the draft, we had either 6 or 7 African Americans picked in the first round. So we're hopeful that what we're seeing from numbers like that is some fruit from these programs that we've been working very hard on for a number of years.
And also, I think this is important that we saw the Yankees honor the Harlem team and bring them to the stadium. We've done the same thing last year with the Chicago team. That's how you pique the interest of young people to stay into the game. So besides the fields and everything, we got to make it the cool thing to do again in the neighborhood. And I think that these fields will allow that to happen, make sure that we can pay for the bats for the kids, the helmets and things that maybe they can't afford. And I think get back to the stick ball, the things we used to do when we grew up, and we participated. But I think that Major League Baseball is doing all they can. Thank you to Frank Robinson for his leadership and what he's doing in the inner cities. And last but not least, we need to see our players. See, kids in the inner city need to see the guys, you know, and I think that's important if we can get them into the community too, so the kids can say, oh, wow, you made it, feel them and touch them. And not just African Americans, we need our Latino players to go too as well. So it's very important.
Yeah, Magic made me think of something that happened recently. I was thrown out the first pitch in Washington a week ago, and I had a young man with me who is a participant in the Nationals Urban Youth Academy. And we were standing in the dugout waiting before the game, and 3 or 4 players came over, called this young man by name, knew him, knew about his interest in baseball, knew about his other interests, the fact that he was very artistic, and that kind of engagement by our players is crucial to making sure that the game continues to grow.
Well, my daughter Sharon Robinson has a program that I'm very proud of. It's called Stand Up, Sharon.
You got to stand up.
But I want to say a word about it because I think it's a good model for us. That it's a program where young people are invited, young people are invited to think of the strategies that they're going to use to deal with obstacles and challenges. Instead of falling apart or running away, they're getting a chance to work on what they understand of their lives and what can they do about the things that are not right or they're not helping them. And she's been getting, I don't know how many thousands of essays from these children who enter the contests that she runs. But I read some of the essays, and I tell you, they're heartbreaking, and yet they're inspiring because they got the problems and they're real, but they're also dealing with them. And that's a great part of Jack's legacy, and it's a great way of helping children stay healthy and help move ahead and not be done in by the things that have happened to them that other people have done to them. So, Sharon, I just wanted to say.
Well, thank you.
Mr. Robinson, could I ask you one other question? What do you remember about this day, 68 years ago? What was this day like for you?
This date?
What was this day like?
This day?
The day that your husband played Major League Baseball.
First day.
Oh, the first day he played. What was it like? Well, talk about challenges.
Sign him up, Sharon. Sharon, make him write an essay.
You never knew until you got home alive and, and well and managed everything. It was a very exciting day and a very stressful day. But more exciting than stressful because it was an opportunity. It was something, positive about it. And I knew he was able to meet the challenge, and he knew he was able. So we didn't have the fear that he wasn't up to it. We knew he was up to it. And so that makes a lot of difference when you're entering a field, even if you have people who are attacking you or who are against you or who are going to hold you back. You just say to yourself, I'm going to do it.
Can you imagine her telling those kids that, those 200 kids that she has in her foundation in that story? And then they have to say, wow, failure is not an option.
No.
Just think about that. Just think about those 200 kids sitting there, and she can relate that story and what he had to do to play, not just that day, but the rest of his career. Wow. That's powerful. That is so powerful. I'm glad you asked that question because it made me even reflect back. Thank you.
Question for Rachel or Irvin. What advice would you give the media today as they cover race and civil rights issues? Where do you think the media could be doing a better job in covering these issues?
I was over to you more. Or you?
Oh, you turned it over to me. This is a great one for Brian.
Yeah. I think.
What should the media be doing?
I think just, you have to first start back with those who've been through the fight. Don and Frank, Bill Russell, those who've been in it before to get their opinion on, because you got to go back first before you can actually move forward, right? So a lot of these great Hall of Famers have been in it when you're asking a young man that didn't have to go through some of the things that they had to go through. So I think for me, I would turn it over to Frank Robinson, Don, Bill Russell, those type of guys who had to go through, because they paved the way for me, right? And so my answer wouldn't be as great as their answer would be, because Frank would probably have a better perspective on it than I would. Or Don. I mean, that's what I feel.
One last one.
This question's for Rachel. What is the most important thing that kids should be taught or should know about Jackie Robinson?
I couldn't hear him.
He said, what you think kids should be taught?
Do you want me to say it again?
Yes, louder for her.
What is the most important thing that kids should be taught or should already know about
What's the most
Jackie
important
Robinson?
thing kids should be taught or know about Jackie Robinson?
I think they should. There's a lot being written about him, and if you've seen the film 42, that's a very authentic picture, and I'm so pleased that schools are taking children to see that film, and not just to see it, but to discuss the film after it's over, to say, how does that apply to their lives right now? And I think that there's no one way or no one area that we need to focus on. We need to focus on giving everyone an opportunity in America to do what they can do and not obstruct them and hold them back by prejudice.
May I say something, please, real quick? And I know Senator Kasten will be glad to hear me say something, speaking real quick. The fact is, Jackie Robinson had one thing in his whole makeup, and that was that he refused to lose. The word lose was not in his vocabulary whatsoever. And if he was playing golf, if he was playing ping pong, if he was playing marbles, he wanted to win. He did not believe in losing. So God knows, and you should know, how he was on the baseball field, and I was his teammate for many years. And I know how he felt, and I know what he did. Read the history books, he'll bear me out.
Thanks, Luke.